Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the 2022 The Players Championship. And this is my Before the Lock show. Everything you need to know before you lock in those final DFS lineups or maybe some last bets. First and foremost, thank you for stopping by. I'm going to go over, give you my prize picks. There's an interesting one out there that you guys might, I don't know, I kind of enjoy. It'll be interesting. I'm also going to announce the winners of my giveaway for the players. Of course, we're going to do all the analysis for the guys 7K and below, give you my top 5 plays there. We're going to definitely be talking weather. That is going to be a major factor. It's probably the biggest topic that everybody's talking about for the players. And I think that's about it. With that said, let's go jump over, talk some golf, and give me about, I don't know, 30 minutes, and we'll get through this. All right, real quick. So if you haven't checked out PrizePicks.com, I highly recommend it. And if you want to check it out and you've not done so far, you can still receive a free $100. If you put in $100, that's right, they're matching you still 100%. Up to $100, and all you gotta do is hit my promo code in Golf Guru. Again, enter in Golf Guru, and they're gonna match you 100%. And if you don't know what this is, to give you a quick understanding, it is just a simple props projection site on all the different sports. And of course, we focus on the PGA. And with the players, they got something a little different that I'm gonna talk about. Of course, you can bet on how many birdies they have in the first round, what's their score, what's their total score for the whole weekend. What I thought was just most interesting, I've never seen it before here, is they're actually allowing you to bet the over-under on different holes, and they also are offering the last 3 holes going in, of course, number 16, the par 5, then you got the island hole, number 3, then you got the par 4, which has got water on the left. And so what interested me is they had all the guys, which I think they offered like, I don't know, 10 guys that you could pick from, and these 3 guys all tee off together at I think around 10 a.m., 9 a.m. And if you look at the weather, again, this is a bit of a weather bet. The weather should be pretty bad by the time they get to those holes. So it'd be about, I'm guessing, I don't know, hour and a half would get them right around what's stating right now. Wind finder should be the rain is coming, and the wind's supposed to really blow all day today, and also, into the morning. And it shows on Wind Finder it's going to let up kind of midday, but I don't, I'm not trusting that. If you guys have looked at the weather, there's this crazy front going through the whole U.S. That's going to be hitting them, and that's where all this weather is coming from. Long story short, they've got these guys at 11.5 strokes for all 3 holes, and simply that would be they're shooting under par. They have to, so I guess they're assuming they'll birdie 16, they'll par 17, and par 18, which I don't see that happening. I see for all these guys, they're going to have at least a bogey on 1 hole. Best case, pars. If they par every hole, we still win. So long story short, I took the over on all 3 of them. We'll see how that pans out. There's a bunch of different options that you guys can choose from. Definitely go check it out. And if you are going to put a wager, don't forget to put in my promo code, because I am still taking anything that I get from a spiff from PrizePicks, and I'm going to give it to you guys in a giveaway for the Masters. All right. On that, for a giveaway for the players, let me tell you who won the 5 lucky entries, who won $100. And with that said, the top, or the 5 that came out of the random generator, I got Star-Lord's Dad, Bishop to Rook 88, Skylar Hansen, Funk Daddy 69, I like that one, and Random Find. So that, all you folks who won, congratulations again. I will notify you through YouTube comments. Of course, if you see the show, you see your name, you know you won. Thank you for everybody else that entered. I think it ended up being around 140 entries overall through the 2 weeks I ran this. So that's great. That's the most I've ever had. Again, we'll do one for the Masters, and I will reach out to you guys, and then I just need to get your PayPal email address, and I'll shoot over the funds. Hopefully, the sooner I get it, get the information from you, sooner you get the money. Maybe you could even get it in for the Millie Maker. Let's talk a little bit about weather. Also jump into Wind Finder as I always do, but yeah, I wanted to pull this just coming from the PGA this morning. And you can see, I mean, we've been all kind of hoping that this is not going to happen, but it looks like it's going to happen. And what's been going in my brain is, we literally saw an U.S. Open at the Arnold Palmer. Now I feel like we're going to see the British Open this weekend, where we're going to have a ton of rain, a ton of wind. It's going to get cold, like everything we didn't want. I'm mostly kind of bummed because I know there's going to be a ton of stoppages. There's going to be delays. It's going to probably be a Monday finish, best case scenario. And that just kind of stinks. It's, we haven't had to deal with this in a long time. But with that said, it is what it is. And again, it is weather. I mean, things can change. But right now, we're going to have thunder and lightning and 80% of rain and the wind. You can see here. I think the most unique thing about this is that the wind is literally changing like every day, which is just going to mess with these guys. I mean, I think they were saying one of the odds betting things on the Golf Channel was thinking that the winning score, I think they said, was going to be around 10 under, 11 under, something like that. I'll be shocked. I mean, if this all comes to fruition, I don't know. I mean, you got two things, right? You got wet greens now that players can go at pins, but you also got these winds, which could get up to 30 miles an hour. And I've even heard up to almost 40, who knows? But, at least you can hold the greens. Now, on the flip side of that, we've been stating and everybody that, oh, this course fits everybody from a Kevin Kisner to, a Bryson DeChambeau, whatever. The bombers to the very plotters, we'll say. But you get these soggy conditions, the ball's not going anywhere. So also, if you think about this tournament, used to be played in May. That's when it's funny if you look at guys' past histories like Xander Schauffele. He, I think, had his best finish. It was like a top 10. Fact check me on that, but I think that's what it was. And then he missed the cut the next two times when the tournament actually moved over to March. So some guys like the faster, they get more distance. They like the way the course plays. And then some, like even Rory stated, that he likes it when it's a little wetter. So it's going to be interesting on that note. So, guys that are still really good ball strikers are the guys we're going to tend to look to. And with that said, I also did another thing for you guys. Thought that you might be interested in this. Who is the best wind players? Over the last 3 tournaments, they have played wind in crazy wind. This is windy AF, windy as fuck. And so, of course, some players maybe not have all the same rounds, but all these guys almost had all 12 except Zalatoris had 8 rounds. So we'll just say 2 tournaments in Scotty Scheffler. But actually, when I looked into this data, I mean, it goes back a little ways. The one tournament that just keeps standing out in my mind would be the 2020 Memorial that Rahm won and actually shot really well on that Sunday where everybody else was falling apart. So anyways, if you are curious who does well in high winds, this does not take into effect, of course, rain, but does take into effect high winds, of course. Funny enough, Tony Finau. And that makes sense, right? So when I start to think of the guys from how they hit their ball flight, Tony Finau hits that low, stinger, kind of like a Cameron Champ, which I don't think he is listed on here. But from a tee, hitting off the tee, I think he would have a great game. Shane Lowry, no, of course, again, I mentioned this when he won the British Open, the Open back in 2019. The weather there was just crazy between rain and wind. But enough, Will Z, and I pulled this up, I think, when I was doing my picks. The couple times he's played in crazy winds, and he is from Texas, does very well. Almost, I think, gained the most strokes out of anybody. So, it's kind of interesting over when it, and what I did take, just so you know what's up here, this is not my custom model. This, I wanted to just take the top, stroke gain categories. So, and I'm combining all this together. So tee to green, ball striking, short game off the tee, all this is being pulled together to give you total strokes gain in the windiest conditions. So, Cantlay makes total sense. Just, pure ball striker. Same with Hideki. Robert Streb is interesting. Cam Smith, I do think is, an Aussie, a mutter. I already mentioned John Rahm, but he's an elite ball striker. Yes, he's technically European, but I don't think of Spain as in, hey, he's playing in a lot of tough conditions. Keegan Bradley is interesting. We'll talk about him in 7K below. Seamus Power, right? I think he's from Ireland. You got Matt Jones as an Aussie. Johnny Vegas, we're going to talk about him in the 7K and below. And then Scotty Scheffler, is all down here. But I mean, when I think of windy conditions, again, Texas player. So, someone pinged me on the YouTube comments, and I just stated, hey, I think you just pick the teams that you were thinking of, or the guys that you like, good ball strikers. But yeah, don't be afraid if you're putting in, 10, 15, 20 entries, whatever it is into the big Millie Maker or any large tournaments. Of course, put together, some all-win teams or all-weather teams and see how it works. Okay, with that said, let's go jump over to Fantasy National. Let's do some quick analysis on my favorite plays from 7K and below. Okay, so jumped over to Fantasy National, and as always, I'm pulling recent form. I already went through, I'll show you something here. So if you use Fantasy National, they do have where you can figure out the wind conditions. Of course, there's not a rain condition or, how sloppy or cold, but we can do by wind. They do break that down when they do past course conditions. So I actually first went through and found the players that are 7K and below that can do well in the wind. Then I went through, and what I'm looking at now is, how they've been playing over their last 3 tournaments. So looking at recent form, same mini model I use for my picks: approach, good drives. If you want to know what good drives is, the guys that hit the fairway or the first cut and then hit the green on their next shot. So it's kind of a combination. Ball striking kind of takes both of these into effect. The number one proxy to the pin is 125 to 150. Short game around here is huge, and it's going to be more huge because I told you guys the rough is actually at the highest it's ever been at the Players. I'm hearing somewhere around 4.5. So you're going to have that. It's going to be wet rough. So if you go into rough, the odds that you're hitting a green are probably going to be very slim to none, and you're going to be needing to get up and down to just save your par. We do have birdies on still, looking at that. I mean, you never know. Weather could change. Maybe it does turn into a little more where there's a little more birdies, but it also tells you who's been, putting well. Then we got tournament history here and recent results, how they done over their last 5 tournaments, and of course, how they done at TPC Sawgrass or at the Players. Okay. I've got about 10 guys that I kind of singled out. Of course, 5 I'm going to spend more time on, but I'm going to go through the guys that I'm not completely focused, but I recommend, and I think, I would smatter them in too. Right off the bat, you got Harold Varner. Of course, he had that recent win over on the Asian Tour. I also mentioned his best finish on the PGA Tour is at the RBC Heritage Pete Dye course. I think it's a great fit because you have to be very accurate, which, what Harold Varner does typically. I know the stats right here is not showing so much what we want to see over his last few tournaments, and you can see that too with a couple miscuts. But typically, he's a very accurate driver of the ball, pretty good on approach. It's usually the putter that lets him down, and when he did well at RBC, he just had a crazy putting round. Same thing when he won the Asia Open. I can't think of the title of the tournament, but he was just making putts everywhere. And that happens. When that happens, these guys that typically drive the ball very well can win. But if you look at recent form, nothing to write home about. But the Amex, he did have a T22 that is a Pete Dye course, but he has done well in the past. You see any player, no matter who it is, if they've made 4 out of the 5 cuts they played at TPC, that's somebody you need to consider. And that's why I pulled him up for you. Also, he has pretty good Pete Dye background, and we need some length, and let me just click on him. I'm just curious. Driving accuracy about 60% on average, hits the ball pretty far. You can see this is a down. Hasn't done as well in winning conditions, hence I didn't pick him as one of my top 5. But again, it could be so off and on. If I click on this, there's that RBC Heritage I mentioned. Let me go back. I want to see. Yeah, so typically, it does pretty well the irons. It's the putter that can kind of let him down. It's funny, off the tee is not gained a ton, but usually let me just see his recent. So yeah, he's lost off the tee the last couple. That just means he's hitting the ball probably pretty far. He's just not hitting fairways. But I told you, typically over the last year, he's almost 60% accuracy. So anyways, it's someone to consider. The next guy, I'm just going to go through these guys pretty quick. Of course, Joel Damon. He's played here twice. In 2019 would have been, I believe, when it was played in May. So just note to self, not March. And he missed it when it was played in March. But his last win was on an island course, was very windy conditions. Pretty accurate driver of the ball. Typically putts, when he does have good showings, it is putting on Bermuda. And we can go look at that win back in the March timeframe of last year. So it's been a year now. It's crazy. It does not feel like it's been a year, but that was at Corrales. So that's why I kind of highlighted, Joel Damon. Aaron Wise, he's on here. I mean, he's played here twice. He made the cut last year. He's a great ball striker, but just, he had a good showing at the Arnold Palmer. So when I say a good showing, I mean, a T17, that's pretty good compared to everything that was going on. It's all about the putter with Aaron, but he is an elite ball striker. At 6,600, I think is something you could take a chance on. Put in Lucas Herbert. It's actually Lucas Herbert. It's not the Herbert. He had also had that I think the best round on Sunday because I had him in showdown. I think he shot 4 under, um, which is pretty impressive because, again, tough conditions. Also, he had that recent win at Bermuda. Again, windy, typically does putt well on Bermuda. Also, gains a stroke on the field in windy conditions over his last, 12. So I think he's a good play. There's that Bermuda win. You don't have all the stats for that because they don't take stroke gain data there, but just trust me. If you're down at this range, he could be a good play. Garrick Hago, right? He won 2 of his European events, DP World Tour at the Canary Islands. Also, he won at Palmetto. I don't remember. I don't know if I do this, let me go take a quick look here. I don't remember. I don't think the conditions were anything crazy there. Let's see here. All right. Yeah. So here we go. Here's the wind at that tournament. It was moderate, which, I don't know. I guess when they say moderate, like 10 miles an hour. So it was not, crazy wind, but it was Bermuda. But he has, some of his wins on island courses, which would tend to think that he had to face some kind of wins. Let me see. Yeah. So again, almost gains a stroke on the field when he plays in a crazy win. But you got to remember, we don't have a ton of data on Garrick Hago, but I think he's an interesting play. You can also see he's made the last, 4 out of 5 cuts out of the last 5 tournaments. He's never played here before. Let's go look at that in a bigger picture. One to see here. So yeah, I mean, he's made every cut. If you go back to October, the Zozo, he made the cut at the Bermuda, windy conditions. The Honda's tough track. We had a bit of weather there. It wasn't crazy though, was it? I'm thinking of the previous year at the Honda. But he did miss the cut at the Arnold Palmer. Lost strokes everywhere. But someone to think of. Hudson Swafford, of course, has done very well. Won, I believe that's Corrales twice or once. So he won Corrales back in 2020. Won the Amex here recently. Let me go check the weather on that. So, funny enough, the day that the final round was windy AF. So that's interesting. And he moved up the leaderboard, if I remember right, to win that tournament. So that's an interesting one to think about. Of course, he's got a few missed cuts recently, but was ball striking amazingly. Has been here 4 times, missed a cut every time, but way back in 2016, he made the cut. And that would have been when the tournament was back in May, where the course is usually drier, faster. But somebody to think of, again, I think would be a pretty decent play. Thomas Pieters, he hasn't, since he's kind of made his way over here, hasn't done that great. But he does have a win not too long ago. I'd say probably a couple months ago on the DP World Tour before he came over here. Of course, if you know Thomas Pieters, he showed up at the U.S. Open. I think he might have been round 1 leader at Wingfoot when DeChambeau and Wolf won, and then kind of fell apart a little bit. But if we go look at where Thomas Pieters has done on the PGA Tour, done some of his best showings, this is what I remember when he came over. He played like the island swing, so Corrales, and there was another one, Puerto Rico. So he had a 15th and a 13th. Now, again, the fields, not very strong, but it was windy conditions, and he played well. He's a good ball striker. He's just volatile, and he's got the temper of a Terrell Hatton. Of course, he's European, so again, hence why I put him in there. I'm going to play him here or there. And then the last guy I'm going to talk about from who I'm not focusing on, or not giving you as my top 5, is Ryan Brehm. Of course, if you've been watching the news or if you listen to my preview show, this guy comes out of Michigan State, grew up in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, was pretty much focused or set that he was going to play the Korn Ferry, lose his card, be on the Korn Ferry. He had one medical exemption that he was supposed to do last year, but couldn't do it. So they allowed him to do it this year. So literally they went to Puerto Rico as kind of a vacation, him and his wife. Wife was on the bag. The weather there was crazy winds, especially on Sunday. I know for sure. I didn't watch the whole tournament, but when I saw what they were dealing with on Sunday, and he still shot, I think, a few under, but was leading the tournament going into Sunday. And, it was a great story all in all. So all I'm saying with that is we know he's pretty decent recent form, even though, funny enough, if you pull up Ryan Brehm, I looked at this because it's been so long. So it does show he hits the ball a country mile. He can just rip the ball off the tee. Was it? Yeah, 317 off the tee on average, but 50% accuracy. So he must have been, and there I'm guessing, I think if I remember the PRO, you can't get in too much trouble with the driver. But his last event before that Puerto Rico was a miscut at the Wyndham. Let me click on this. Funny enough, he played the Puerto Rico before and had 11th. So it's funny, if I would have done any due diligence, I might have been interested on betting him, and I did not. I was so focused on Arnold Palmer. I don't know why it does that when you click over to it. I don't know. Doesn't matter. Long story short, he's played at the Bermuda, did all right. Corrales. So a couple of these events, I mean, he can handle himself in the wind. So somebody else, if you're way down there and you need that, you're trying to get a little nutty above, Ryan Brim might be an interesting play. Okay, let's talk about the 5 guys that I'm most interested in. All right, Keegan Bradley, number 1. He's played here. Let's go click on him. You see from a modeling perspective, if you watch golf, you know golf. Keegan Bradley is just elite tee to green typically. Always has been a great ball striker. It's typically the putter is a disaster. But if you see tournament history, he has made the cut here. I think he's played the Players 9 times and made the cut 7. Let's go verify that real quick. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So okay, played it 9 times. He's made the cut 6 times. That's pretty impressive, and he's made it the last 5 times in a row. You can see approach is good off the tee, kind of back and forth. Putter, funny enough, back and forth. So I think he's a safe play. And that's kind of what I'm looking for. With the weather we know what's going on, I am going to lean a little more towards the veterans who've been here, played here, have a decent game. Now, again, he could easily miss the cut as anybody. I mean, last year, I think I told you guys, a lot of the top, most expensive guys, top ranked guys all missed the cut. So, yeah, I think Rory, shot a 78 or 79 first day. So Keegan Bradley, anyways, interesting play. You can see ownership's up there, kind of high for him already. Next guy, Johnny Vegas. Kind of actually expected his ownership to be more than Keegan for $100 less. So if you look, Johnny Vegas has made his last 4 out of 5 cuts. Best shown was a T12 at the RSM. You can see again, elite ball striker. It's usually short game and putting. But of course, he had that T3. That would have been, I believe, still in May. I think the first time they moved it to March was 2020 when it was canceled. But let's go take a look. So he's made the last 4 out of 5. I wanted to see a bigger sample for him for the Players. Again, you can see he bombs it off the tee, 318, almost 60% accuracy, gains in the wind, about a half stroke on the field. Crazy wins, I should say. And what did I want to look at the Players for him? So he's played it 7 times and made the cut 6 out of the 7. So, I mean, I guess if I was going to take, if he had one pick over those 2, I'd go with Johnny Vegas. But, I mean, they're very similar in their skill sets. All right, Party Marty Laird. Of course, he's from Scotland. And, I'm, as I mentioned, probably will lean a little bit at times when it comes between this guy, that guy, why not? I'll probably lean towards an Aussie or a European guy just because I feel like they just have more comfort. You can also see over his last 12 rounds, he's been firing on all cylinders and playing good golf. He's made the last, 4 cuts. It has a T14. He got through at the Arnold Palmer. He's played here, at least here it shows 5 times, made the cut twice. Let's go look at the bigger picture of that. You can also see drives at about 300 on average, almost 70% accurate. You can also see, again, gains over a half stroke against the field in crazy winds. Is positive on Bermuda. Difficult courses, he does pretty well. Let's go see the bigger picture. He's been around a while. All right, we'll see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He's got the back in the day. He had a 2nd and a 5th at the Players, and then missed a cut a few times. Had a 57 missed cut at 69. So, see off the tee, he's done very well. The irons are typically, I guess, what can haunt him, and the putter when he's had really good putting outings, and he has had some good putting outings. Again, though, that would be back in the May timeframe. But I think he's an interesting play down here. And Mito Pereira, he's never played here, so he's probably the one guy that doesn't have the experience I'm looking for. But I've always told you guys I've watched his game. He's very similar to a Joaquin Niemann, his ball flight. He also, at one time, I want to go check this, but spiked with that putter on Bermuda. You can see the Genesis and the Honda had 2 good showings, a T15, a T30. A couple of miscuts in here, and then a T20 at the Farmers. Let's go click on Mito. Let's see what that putter did just recently. Here again, I mean, it's a smaller sample size, but gains almost a stroke on the field when he has. I don't know how many rounds that would be for him. Maybe 4 or 5 rounds max. So here was that putting I was talking about. So that was back in the fall where he was really gaining with the putter. And a lot of that was Bermuda. That was POA, but these were Bermuda. And then his most recent on Bermuda, he lost 4 strokes. But everything else, tee to green, was good. So if you get kind of just a break even, gain a stroke, he hits the ball like he can. Could be interesting. And again, and what I noticed with him is he's not a guy that will go super low. I don't know if I've seen him have a real low round, but for what we're looking for here to just hang in there, get your pars, get a couple birdies here or there. I think Mito's a good play. Then the last guy, of course, I'm always a little bit biased to Sebastian, but for this price tag of 6,700, from a pure ball striker and very streaky with the putter, you can see the birdies are up there. You can see all green on here over the last 3 tournaments. Also shows here last 3 tournaments T25 or better. We'll just say a T26, but made the last 4 cuts. Played here last year, did not make the cut. You can actually see he ranks 4th in my model completely out of the whole field, which, do with that. But I said he's just a really good ball striker typically. I mean, 99% of the time. I have seen him have a blow-up round or 2. You can also see he gains a little bit in crazy wins. At least he's not down here. Moderate, he gains almost a half stroke, 0.3 of a stroke. It's the putter. And when he does have that pop putting week, he's going to win, as you'll see here at the Sanderson Farms, which was Bermuda, RSM Bermuda. The Schwab, I believe, is bent, but that's Bermuda. The Greenbrier's bent. The Deer is bent. So, yeah. Anyways, it's going to come down to the putter with him. And usually I play him as a first-round leader. I'm really curious right now, my mindset from a showdown perspective and a first-round leader. I don't know how much I'm gonna do with that with just especially a showdown, because it's gonna be very frustrating to put your money in and know that you might not see that money for could be a couple days, because I just have a feeling, like I said, the delays. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. All right, that's that. Let's go look at ownership projections. Okay, still in Fantasy National, and now you can go over to ownership's projections. Right now, there's been 13,000 lineups created, so that's the most I've seen in a while. Of course, it's a 5th major. It's a big tournament. So that should be really good data we got, and which is hilarious. As always, Colin Morikawa, #1, chalkiest. And again, that was my #1 guy. I know it's not me influenced. I mean, Pat Mayo, funny enough, I saw that was kind of his #1 guy. I think we're having the kind of same mind thought of, what do you want on this course? If you remove the weather, just the most elite iron player you can find. That's what I want in this course. And he's that guy. Rahm, I think, is going to be, he's very highly owned, and I think he's a good play, especially, I think some people, everybody's back and forth. Is the putter going to show up? If it does, maybe game over. But the guy plays really well in windy conditions, at least what we've seen. Again, going back to the 2020 Memorial, where he kind of just separated himself in those kind of conditions. JT, so these are my top 2 guys going in, and then Berger's my next. So it's kind of like, here's my, top 5 guys, except, remove Rahm. I'm not on him, but I like Scheffler again. Just, just a low key, the way he plays his game, good in the wind. We'll see if he gets burned out from that crazy, but it looks like these guys are going to get a lot of breaks. I think a lot of people are thinking again with the weather, you got Will Z. I'm shocked that he's still going to be at 15%, but if people doing analysis knows how well he has handled himself. And, the old, you're all over him one week, the next week's when they actually pop. Patrick Cantlay does very well in these conditions. Corey Connors, an elite ball striker. Lowry, again, back to a kind of a weather play. Xander Schauffele, no one's talking about. This would be the tournament that Xander would actually win, finally. Right? I mean, if you think about the whole narrative of waiting for guys to break through, now, of course, Xander's a past winner, but it's just been so long since we've seen him win a tournament. I want to go click. I know it's been like 3 years, I think. Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, I'm not counting the Olympics. Yeah, so it's been since the Tournament of Champions in Hawaii, 2019. So yeah, that's a few years. A little bit like a Finau, but I mean better than Finau. But of course, Finau had the Puerto Rico Open, and then it took forever to get his we'll call it real mainland PGA victory. Anyway, so I will probably build some teams with Xander. I'm going to try. This is talking about the Millie Maker. I'm going to have to differentiate because it looks like, the guys that I'm kind of on, even Cam Smith is up there for me. Adam Scott. Some people ask me about Gooch. I think he's a great play, especially given the conditions and all that. I think he just, right here is saying 13% own at that price tag. He's going to be super chalk. I also think guys have done well in match play. So if you think about the WGC match play, whatever, if you go just look at the guys who've won or been top two, could give you some good thoughts. So you got like Kisner won it. Oh, geez, would that have been 2020? If they played it, I think they did. You got Billy Holt and Scotty Scheffler who won it last year. I don't know. If you want to get some thoughts on guys, just go look at the match play. I just feel like they've always, for whatever reason, the weather's been kind of bad in those. And there's typically when it's in Austin, Texas. Joaquin Niemann, I think, is going to be interesting, just his ball flight. Of course, some people might be off him a little bit for what he did at the Honda, but I think that was just, he came out on fire and then just was burned out from the Genesis. Keegan Bradley, we just talked about him. Siwoo, of course, Pete Dye specialist. Cameron Young could be a good play with his length and how he plays. I mean, I'm going to probably be leaning, again, the guys have a little more length because of what it is going to be out there, the wind. With that wind shifting every day, you're going to have days where certain holes are going to play, just forever. Just trying to see if anything kind of stands out. Garcia, a little less owned, and typically he shows up in the weather. There's my Mito, less than 7%. Webb Simpson, no love. Typically, he has, of course, done very well at this course, and in his past, done very well in rough conditions. Patrick Reed, I think from a betting perspective, let me see where he's at. It's kind of funny. Reed would be like the guy that everybody would be talking about. Look at that. So less than 1% owned. So I'm going to build some teams with Patrick Reed because this tournament, if Patrick Reed hasn't been showing what he's been showing the last, I don't know, 6 months, this is like a perfect place that Reed would typically win on all conditions. So take the weather, take the grinding out. You see accuracy over the past year has been still there, but look at this sample of his last 20 tournaments, losing off the tee, losing on approach, but it's golf, right? At any time. I mean, his last good showing was at the Bermuda, windier conditions. That was back in October. Could be interesting, like I said, you're going to have to differentiate. And if the guy pops, looks like Reed could be that guy that could really shake things up. If he top tens, just saying anything else interests me. I think Seamus Power. Where's he at? Could be an interesting play. 3% owned. Does everything good. Tee to green. Right. He's from, I believe, Ireland. Yeah. I mean, nothing fantastic from what he's done. But you can see he did not have a good showing. So last couple outings haven't been that great. The putter is what killed him at the Phoenix. But right, the guy was playing just solid golf. Even over in some of the island courses, at 11th at Mayakoba, 12th at Bermuda. Yeah, so you throw together a Reed, Seamus Power, and then whoever else, that could definitely change things up. All right, just going to scroll through. My Munoz is at 5%. Knox and Noren I already picked at the 7K-ish range. I like those guys for this tournament. Leishman, he has not been showing what I'd like to see, but of course he's an Aussie. If you're putting a team Aussie together. The Kisner, there he is again. I mean, he just hasn't been playing that good at golf. His last win was at the Wyndham, which some people could argue is a comparable course. But just if you're thinking of like a grinder, just to kind of grind his way through this. I think Bubba Watson's interesting. Nobody's looking at Bubba. 6,900. 1% own. So that's... And I don't really have a reason why I would sell Bubba. He works the ball both ways. You can see, it's showing that gains almost, I don't know, 3/4 of a stroke in the wind. Looks like the approach and the putter have been a bit off. I don't know. Okay, I think that's enough. You got some ideas. let's go quickly look at the weather again, just so you can see breakdown, and then let's get out of here. All right. So you're going to want to go to this Pontevedra Beach. Volano is probably the best point to pull if you're using Windfinder. And this is what I was kind of talking about right now, what they're speculating right now. The wind's already there. And, saying that it's going to die down around 1 o'clock. So, I think I even saw some people saying, oh, I'm going to build a PM AM. Like, I think trying to build lineups by start times is just not going to work because I think there's going to be delays and it's all going to get messed up anyways. That's my speculation. But, do what you want. If you don't want to get the guys out in the morning, want the guys in the afternoon, and then it shows that it might be less Friday morning right now. That is an idea, but we'll see. We'll see how that all works out. But yeah, like I said, right now it's Saturday is a mess, and Sunday is where finally, it's going to freeze. It's going to be freezing out. It's going to be very cold in the morning if those guys do tee off, but that looks like the best day from the weather perspective. So keep an eye on it. That's what you want to check. And with that said, let's go wrap this up. Okay, so my top plays 7K and below are Keegan Bradley. Played here a ton. As I showed you, I think 10 times, made the cut 6 times, something like that. Lead ball striker, terrible putter, but could be a guy that you might want to look to get you through. Party Marty Laird, of course, he's from Scotland. I believe that's what it is correct, not Ireland, Scotland. Has had some nice showings here. It was a while ago, but typically he's made the cut when he's played here. Can handle himself in the wind. Been playing good golf. Mito Piero never played the course. You could look at him or Garrick Higo. Honestly, I like him a little better. Shown a little more recent form. The putter, his game, I think his ball flight should fit here like a Joaquin Niemann. Sebastian Munoz, he's an elite ball striker. You just never know what's going to happen with the putter. And for that price tag, I'll plug him in there if I'm down there. And then Vegas might be one of your better, I think, maybe out of all these guys, better plays for the price tag. Just, how he's done here. Recent form might be a little but his game should suit here. So there's the 5 guys that I'll be looking at. Of course, I gave you more that, depending on how many lineups you're going to build, but for the guys below 7K. And then real quick, I, of course, went over one and done yesterday on my picks, but again, I'm just going to show it real quickly again, who I'm looking at with the weather changing, who knows, this might change. Remember, as far as I know, this is the best one and done from a pay side. So you want to spend your best guy, as far as I'm concerned. I think the winner is like, 2.8, 3 million, whatever it is. So, out of all the other tournaments, this is going to be a game changer. The guy that I've been leaning to and looking is Morikawa, but, you start thinking about it, he doesn't have the length like these other guys do. I'm going to have to go through, and I did not do this, look at how Morikawa is done in bad conditions. So I have to do a little due diligence there. Of course, you got JT. Both these guys do what I'm looking for from the irons perspective. Of course, JT won here last year. Rahm is interesting. I think, a lot of people talked about that's who they were saving him for this. And, but what you've seen with the short game and the putter over the last 3 tournaments, that's kind of interesting. I've already used Hideki, but if you haven't, I think he's a good play. Daniel Berger. I'm kind of waiting for him. St. Jude. And then, of course, I mentioned if you are, one of those guys that, are quite a bit out of it and need that dark horse to really differentiate Lowry if he pops. Because if everybody's on Rahm and Rahm hits, it's not going to be that big of a difference. But I guarantee you, if Lowry hits first, wins this thing, you're going to, jump up the board. Okay, that's it. Thank you guys for spending some time with me. Hope that helps. I'm excited for the players, even though I'm a little bummed that the weather's not going to be better. But who knows? Maybe we'll get lucky. It is weather. But I have a strong feeling that this is going to be a tournament that we're going to watch quite a bit of the 2021 tournament over the actual 2022. But we'll see how it all works out. If you've not subscribed, hey, hit that subscribe button. I put out 3 shows a week, get you all the intel that I have and everything that I'm looking at. I share it with you guys. And if you're not following me on Twitter, follow me on Twitter. Just, I'll keep an eye on everything. I'm going to let you know any withdrawals, weather, anything I see coming from the PGA Tour communications or anything that I think you guys need to know from pressers, whatever it is, I put it there. And yeah, with that said, best of luck to us. I hope one of you guys are the Million Maker winner. I doubt it'll be me. I'm not going to be putting hundreds of lineups in. I'm with the weather and everything that's going on. I I think I'm going to put in somewhere between around 20 lineups and see how it all goes. But I do have a lot of bets. And by that note, I think you can start to look at some interesting, bigger odds guys, because I think that due to the weather and all that, it is going to bring the field a little closer together. So just some thoughts there. I made some bets that I didn't think I was going to make. My plan was of a very condensed, simple scorecard or a betting card that was going to go in. Now with what's going on, I'm going to take a few more shots. So, all right, guys, best of luck. Talk to you on Monday.